Hi everybody, Keith Tanner here from Flyin Miata, and today I'm going to give you a tour of Pepper. Pepper's our 1991 development car that has been given a little bit of a makeover for the recent Miatas of the Gap and other upcoming events. We figured have a little fun with the aesthetics of the car, so I'm going to walk through what we did, why we did it, what we're trying to do, and I mean, heck, we like looking at pictures of cool Miatas, so there you go, cool Miata. A little background on Pepper. Pepper is a 1991, a fully optioned car. It's got ABS, it's got all sorts of interesting, it came with a factory hardtop that we added to the development fleet so we had access to a 1.6 car that we could do terrible things to. We do have a couple of other 1.6 cars that are available to us, but this is one that was being used specifically for development and R&D. So it's got kind of a dual role. When it came into the family, it was a very, very clean car. We were quite happy with the car we managed to find. It actually came from one of our customers. So it already had our sway bars on it and a couple of other things, including the roll bar. So it made a great base for us to use as a development car. Some people might wonder why we didn't just buy a ratty, terrible car, and that's because as a business, it costs us money to bring a car back into condition where we can use it for things, where we don't have to spend a bunch of time fixing up rust, replacing dented panels, doing body work. It's less expensive to buy the best car you can and work from there than it is to try to bring a rat back again, which is fun. We've certainly done enough of that ourselves, but as a business doesn't work. Pepper was a pretty nice little clean 1991, which is perfect for us. As you may have seen in some of our earlier videos, we have added a turbocharger to it, which was the entire purpose we picked it up. We needed to do some very specific 1.6 turbo development. And we've also hardened some of the rest of the car so it can handle the sort of use it sees. It's had a cooling upgrade with our cross-flow radiator, our stage 2 fans. We've replaced the fuel pump, made sure all the fueling system is in good shape. The fuel pump wasn't for performance reasons, it was simply because the one that's in here is 35 years old, so time for a new one. We did basically a 60,000 mile service, which means things like water pump, timing belt, all the fluids. The water pump's not officially part of that service, but since they have a lifespan of around 90,000 miles, we knew it needed to be done before the next one, so we just covered it to make sure. So with that, all that done, that takes us up to the last video we did. And now we have turned our mind to the aesthetics of the car. As you can see, it looks a little wider, it looks a little different. And the thought behind this, we were looking for what would a 1960s Miata look like if it was a dual street track car, sort of a cafe racer kind of thing, to use motorcycle lingo. Not fully stripped out, no carpet, track only sort of car that's a penalty to drive, but a car that you can take on the track for casual fun, club racing with your friends with 1960s safety requirements. And you can also just jump in and drive around, tear around your twisty roads, have a little bit of fun. It's a little different aesthetic than some of the ones we've done before, so we figured it would be a fun thing to do. I'm going to walk through the various things we did to the car as part of this. Now, as you're watching this video, feel free to throw some comments in there. We will, if you have questions, throw them in the comments. We will do our best to answer them. If you're in the future, you're watching this not live, we do read every comment, so do put any questions you have in there or any comments on the car. And also, of course, if you do like this sort of comment or this sort of content, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and to like the videos, because that will help you find out about more of them coming, and it will help us justify doing this more often. So, the car itself, the most obvious thing we've done is we've added fender flares. These particular ones are from Turbo Miata. They're a relatively popular style. We chose them because they're not crazy wide. They just give the car a little bit of extra beef without having to go with some ridiculous wheel to go in there. And we actually just published a video if you want to see the process of putting these on. We did more than just do a little bit of sawzalling and slap them on. We actually did full range of motion travel testing to make sure that we weren't going to rub anywhere. It gives us the ability to run enormous tires on this thing now if we want to. We could actually run 275s in this car without clearance problems, thanks to the fender flares. We actually had a lot of discussion as to whether we should put fender beading, a little piece of rubber between the flare and the fender itself. That's an aesthetic choice. Some people liked it very much. Some people did not like it very much. We actually even thought about put it on one side only so we could see. It all depends on whether you want the flares to look like they're part of the body or whether they were added on separately. Your call, whatever you think. Put it in the comments, your choice, whether you think they should look more separate or whether they should look more incorporated the way we went with. And also, as you can see, we used a set of our like wheels on the car. And it was actually this vision of building a car like this that led to us contacting Like in the first place and bringing the Like wheels into the Flyin Miata family. So this is where these wheels were intended to go in the first place. In order to make them fill out those fender flares, I broke one of my cardinal rules here. I have always used fender flares in the back to cover over the wheel tire combination I picked out. In this particular case, we chose the flares and then had to fill them out, which is, I feel a little dirty about that, but it's honestly how most people do it. So we have 28 millimeter of spacer behind these wheels to push them out to this point. They're effectively a -3 offset at this point. It's a bolt-on spacer, so it's nice and strong. We don't have to worry about the spacer slipping around, no balance problems. It's proven to be quite functional. We have driven the car around quite a bit. It hasn't been on track yet, but this is a trackable setup. It will not affect the way that we use the car in the future. And I mean, it looks great. It's a little weird to drive if you're used to driving Miatas that had the stock track for so long, and all of a sudden you get a car that's a couple inches wider. You can definitely feel it. You can feel it in the steering. But yeah, it looks great. Other things we've done, come on around back this way, Logan. The car actually came to us with a Project D bikini top, which was fantastic because it fit right in with the sort of vibe we're looking for. The car has no soft top anymore. This is the weather protection. We do have a hard top we can throw on there. It came with the car. We do have a hard top we can throw on when we do need weather protection. So we'll do that. This goes back in the trunk. Hard top goes on, and now it's weather tight for a normal everyday car. That's how we run it most of the time. But for this sort of use, the bikini top looks great. And actually, we found out after we started building the car, we were accidentally almost making a replica of the little Hot Wheels cars. You can get these in multiple colors as blue, green, yellow, and of course red. And we didn't really do it on purpose. This was the plan all along, but we kind of ended up building the same car. So we've got better looking wheels, I think. But there you go. That was a fun little discovery. Going around to the back, you can see we also put on a ducktail spoiler on the back. That was a fun thing to do, trying to figure out just how big we want it to be. This is also from Turbo Miata. We painted it in-house, and I will admit it's been years since I did any paint work, so the paint quality is not awesome, but we haven't had a chance to buff it out, sand it out yet, so it'll get better. The car also came to us with the factory front lip. Sometimes they're called, what do they call them? The RS lips, I think, if you find the knockoffs. The nice thing about the factory ones is they're better made than the knockoffs, which don't curl all the way underneath the way these ones do. This one actually curls underneath. It's got a surface underneath there. The knockoffs have a tendency to be cut off right there, and if you're used to these ones, they look wrong. So that's on there, which is great. And we also, when we're at Miatas at the Gap, our friends at S&S Miata Parts were able to provide us with a factory takeoff for the rear. You can't get the rears anymore. The knockoffs on these are, again, not well made. So we're happy to have an actual OE one here. Fun fact, I've confirmed this with two of the Miata designers, both Tom Matano and Bob Hall. These were intended to be on all the cars except for the base models right from the start. They were supposed to come with these front and rear lips. But there were problems with shipping the cars. They were difficult to get on the roll-on, roll-off carriers at the time, and Mazda Japan effectively said no. According to Bob, and I apologize, Bob, I'm paraphrasing for you here, but apparently this was a subject of some discussion. They were even hoping on doing a trunk kit where you basically, you ship the car with the parts in the trunk. That was not allowed. They were in the factory accessories brochure right from the start, right when the car was introduced. And of course, most people know them as the R package lip. They did finally manage to get them on the cars with the R package cars in '94. But they've been part of the Miata design since the start, and honestly, I think they make the car look so much more finished. They finish out that black sill stripe, give a nice continuous look all the way around, and we will have that on the car before too long. So right now we put it underneath just for showing off to remind me to talk about it. We also did a little tiny bit of work in the interior, not much. We added the deep dish Momo wheel on a quick release, because that kind of fits with how you're going to use this car. That's actually the exact same one that I use in my own race car, the Turbo Miata. I was trying on different wheels for fitment, and I put that one on. It just looked right and felt right, so I said, that's what it's going to be. So we got one of those. It's got a Team Voodoo shift knob that came out of our personal collection. I believe you can still get those, but that's an aluminum ball that's modeled after the classic Ferrari shifters. Sometimes they're polished. This one is black because that's the one that we had kicking around, but that's out of the Flyin Miata stores. We also added in our finishing, what do we call these exactly? These little finishing pieces to seal up the cut that you have to make in the rear carpet for a roll bar. It's a difficult thing to do well. Even a clean cut looks a little bit messy, so these are just little 3D printed parts that snap in there and cover that up, make them look that much better. So that's about it. We've got a couple of things we might do to the car. We haven't done a whole lot else at the moment, but that is where the car sat when it got on the trailer for Miatas at Laguna Seca, Miatas at the Gap. I'll pop the hood just so we can show off all the cool stuff under hood. Oh, we added a tow hook because race car. There we go. That's the Flyin Miata Stage 1 turbo system. And this was an interesting installation because this car has the very rare 1.6 ABS system that was introduced in 1991. And that taught us a couple of things about installing these, different bits and pieces that are slightly different on the installation, which is great because it means that now when someone calls up and say, I'm installing one of your turbos on my 1.6 with ABS, we can say, yes, we know about this particular thing and that particular thing. So that is part of the purpose of this car, is not just to test parts, but also to educate our customer service guys so they can actually give you better technical support. They've taken this car on the track, not with the turbo. I don't think it was turbocharged at the time we did our track day. I don't remember. We've done product familiarization days. I think we did a video from that where we were trying the cars out. Was it turbo? It was turbocharged. Okay, so they've had a chance to drive this car on the track with the turbo. One of the questions that we got about this is how many products have been tested on this car. And as you can see, quite a few of them have been installed. The main purpose, as I said, the main purpose for us picking up this car was to test the turbo system, test certain aspects of it. That's been done. We're continuing to do some work on that. We're exploring what some of the other modifications have, some of the effects that they have on the turbo system. We're discovering that the new turbo manifold that we designed as part of our current kits, the one that flows so much better than the other ones, is developing more power at lower boost, which is great. That's obviously completely desired to make as much power with as little boost as possible, which means faster response and less stress on the engine and everything. But we're learning what that means in terms of some of the other changes, such as exhaust changes. And so this car is being used for that. It's also being used to test some suspension parts. And it gets used for just plain measuring and that sort of thing on a regular basis. You know, you want to know how much clearance is there between the sway bar and the front crank on a front crank pulley on a 1.6 because it's larger than it is on a 1.8. You know, what is that distance? The guys come out here and they're measuring weird stuff all the time. So this acts basically as a reference for Flyin Miata as well as a bunch of the other cars that are in our fleet here. One of the questions that we had also, is it still useful as an R&D car? And the answer is yes. We made sure that the aesthetic modifications we made didn't affect its function. I will admit that this maybe is not perfect for headlight function. It doesn't seem to be too bad though. But we did make sure that everything we did was not going to affect the way it works. We can still put stock wheels and tires, or stock size wheels and tires, or less aggressive wheels and tires on this thing if we want to. It looks dorky, that's okay. We can just unbolt the spacers for that, or we can run with the wider spacers, see what effects those have, see how it plays with our suspension, that sort of thing. We haven't upgraded the brakes yet. We know we need to. We can fit a lot of brake under these wheels. That's not a problem. We just haven't got around to doing the brakes. And from a show car standpoint, the like wheels don't really show off the brakes well, so it wasn't a high priority. Future plans for the car. Remember that we're a shop that develops parts and not a YouTube channel that builds cars for video content. So we don't have plans for the car that it's going to go through some dramatic transformation. The future plans for the car are basically to keep using it for development things, development parts. We know we have a couple more electronic parts coming down the road that need to be tested on this. We use it for extracting information from the stock ECU, doing some of the mapping on that. You'd think that after 35 years we'd know everything, but there's always something new to learn. So the car will continue to serve a purpose as a test bed for various things. And we may use it for structural testing for twisting, for example, on some of our brace parts. We're definitely going to be using it for more suspension testing. We'll probably go back to a more normal wheel tire combination for that. So if you see pictures of this in the background looking dorky on stock wheels and tires or more traditional wheels and tires, it's probably because it's doing some suspension work. So lots of stuff for it to do. One of the other questions is it my favorite? Oh, actually, no, before we get to that, is regrets. Do we have any regrets about chopping into the fenders of this car? And the answer is no. If this was a brand new car right off the lot, I probably would have done the exact same thing. I have done the exact same thing. I have chopped up cars with delivery mileage on them. This is basically, it's a survivor, but it has now moved on to the next stage of its life. It's a happy little car. It wasn't absolutely perfect when we got it. There were some dings and things in the fenders, for example. We can always replace the fenders if we need to. Okay, the back maybe. We're not going back on the back there, but no, these cars exist to be turned into reflections of what their owners want to do. And even after 35 years, you're still okay to go ahead and do something interesting. We haven't ruined the car, I don't think. We've changed it, but that's okay. It's turned into a cool little car, I think. And the last question was, is this my favorite car in the fleet? And I have to say, personally, I was a big driver behind how this car was built, what it looks like. And I've got to say, I have bonded quite strongly with this thing. I enjoy it a lot. So yeah, me personally, I think maybe it might be my favorite current car in our fleet. So one of the questions we also had is how much power is it making? And it is making about 160 horsepower at the wheels, which is what we expect out of our 1.6 turbo kits. Yeah, that's one of the reasons we have it, is to be here and to test things and determine. So yeah, it is making, as you would expect, it's making the power levels that we expect out of this turbo system. So all good. It's not going to burn the tires off. It's not going to surprise your latest Corvette, that sort of thing, but it's enough to make this a very perky, fun little car. Gives it very similar power to weight ratio to a brand new 2024, for example. Delivers it differently, but it does make the car a lot of fun driving up and down the mountains here, goofing around on our go-kart track. It's enough power to have a good time. Anything else over there? I hear you guys snickering. Is that Ethan being snarky again? Yeah, I thought so. Okay, so once again, if you do have any questions in the future about this car, any comments about it, you can tell us how awesome the white-like wheels look. That's great. Throw it in the comments. Otherwise, check us out next week. We'll be doing another live video. Plus, of course, we have other videos coming in as time goes on. We do have a video on wheel spacers, I believe, that we talked about in the past. We do have a video that talks about the previous history of this car. We have one that shows the process of putting these flares on. I haven't seen it yet, but I was involved in the filming, so I have a pretty good idea what it looks like. Yeah, check out our library. We've got a lot of videos on all Miata stuff. No shenanigans, just good, solid content. So thanks for your attention. My name's Keith Tanner, and we'll see you again next week. A little stiffer than this.
Hey, there you go.